What's up, everyone? We are back at the Blockchain for Social Justice Conference, and we are now sitting down with McKenzie Slaughter.
Hello, how are you?
Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be here.
Appreciate it. And you are with Beyond Capital Markets.
Yes.
And you co-founded that and general partner of that. Yeah. And you guys are doing a bunch of different things. I'm excited to talk about them all.
We are doing a lot.
Yes, you are.
We're taking over.
Very ambitious.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's break it down. Let's talk about it. So I guess, who are you and how did you even get to this place of your life?
Sure. So McKenzie Slaughter, and how I got here, people ask me that and I just don't know. I like to say I'm half left brain and half right brain. So growing up, as a young adult, I was always concerned about having a career that will allow me to be both creative and analytical. And so I kind of found those worlds together, getting into startups and getting into tech. So I started coding at the age of 18 at an internship at NASA Langley. So I had my bachelor's of course. Yeah. I had my bachelor's in mathematics and computer science. I had my MBA in finance. And my professional background is working with alternative investments, working with hedge funds and private equity funds, but from a creative aspect, so from a branding and research perspective. So first working with what I call brand capital, and helping private equity funds, portfolio companies do better, perform better. And then with hedge funds, doing research due diligence, making sure that they're not fraudulent, making sure that they're doing what they say that they're doing. So that's kind of how I got started. And then when the financial crisis started, happened, all that kind of went away. And I just picked up a computer again and started coding. So I've been in fintech since 2013. My first startup was a social trading platform for women. So teaching women about how to invest in the stock market and providing a platform where they can actually buy and sell stocks and share ideas, trading ideas with each other. So I could go on and on. You want more?
I want more, yeah.
So from there, I met my great business partner, Telly Onu, who's based in the Caribbean. And at that time, I was looking to create creative funds, different funds that can serve people a little bit better since being in the fintech space. And so initially, I kind of relocated to the Caribbean to focus on offshore finance. When I met my business partner, she had a partnership with the World Bank in helping tech founders and startups in that ecosystem in the emerging markets across several islands, helping them grow. And I kind of had a change of heart then. So from that point on, I kind of merged fintech with social impact, what we call impact innovation, and helping to grow the ecosystem, because the Caribbean is is unbalanced, right? You have a lot of wealthy people, and then you have a lot of the local people who are still somewhat disenfranchised and poor. So I've been doing that for about 4 years, and doing these accelerator programs that we did with the World Bank, we also built relationships with the central banks down there, and so we have very good relationships with the premier of St. Kitts and Nevis, also the governor of the central bank, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. So, and then somewhere along the lines, around 2015, we went to a conference in Ireland for the Money Conference, which is hosted by the people at Web Summit. And that's where I got formally introduced to Bitcoin and blockchain and Ripple and all of that. And so we started working we got a couple of partners at that conference, and then we've been building products. We've been kind of building fintech products on the blockchain since 2015. So now we're kind of at a place of transition. We've done all these accelerator programs. We've got really good deal flow. We've got a good portfolio, solid portfolio of fintech and blockchain. And so now we kind of I want to go back to my roots of alternative investments and investing in people, or focusing on investors and investing in the right people, and bringing liquidity to the people that we've helped in the impact space, in the impact startup space, and create a platform that kind of nurtures hedge funds, private equity, fund managers, and even impact fund managers. So Yeah.
Wow. Holy cow, from coding to NASA to building out platforms for women to succeed better, and then to managing all these different types of monies across different companies and funds. And wow, that's a cool background.
Thanks.
Nice.
Thanks. Not on purpose. But
And then blockchain introduction in 2015.
Right.
Yeah, it is a lot of work, but it pays off tremendously. It's so interesting. The more you persevere and keep pushing and learning and growing, the more it pays off. You just keep expanding yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so about 3 years ago, then you were introduced to blockchain technology, and then you started to bring blockchain companies into your portfolio, fintech companies in portfolio, and then you had a couple of these like visions that you wanted to manifest along with your partner as well. Right. And so tell us about these visions that you want to manifest, because they're really ambitious, but I love them. Let's hear them.
So I think the first one starts with access to capital and access to money. In the Caribbean, sending money to Telly, my business partner, or having us send money to a client or whatever out of the Caribbean, the money gets lost. The money gets it just goes into the abyss of the internet or whatever they're using at banks. And
if you're sending money out of the Caribbean?
Yeah. And this is the case not just for businesses, but for people who you may be from Senegal or somewhere in Africa and work in London or work in the US, and you send money back home. It's very hard for them to do that. So historically they use Western Union, MoneyGram, and it costs a lot of money. It costs almost $100 to send money. Just the fees alone could cost up to $100 just to send money. So there's a huge, when you look at the state of finance around the world and how people just don't have access to it, or they can't move their money, or it's very hard for them, or they're unbanked, it's very hard for them to get a bank account. And if they do have a bank account, then there are limits of how much money they can keep in their bank account. So they go open another bank account, and all these bank accounts have fees. And so before you know it, you're paying all these banks, $50 a month in fees, and they're not really helping people. So that's kind of where we started, and where our first observation was. So working with the central bank.
Those third parties that are hindering our ability to send money around the world to our families and pay for goods and services. What? Okay, so cool. That's where you started.
That's kind of where we started. And because my business partner, Telly, has her own startup called Susu Labs, and she's rebuilding the whole financial infrastructure in the Caribbean, so money can move within not within days or months, but within seconds, right? And so that's what Bitcoin is doing in different cryptocurrencies. That's why we have our crypto wallets, and it's doing that as well. So we kind of started there, and we're working with the central bank to do that, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, to do that. And we're not just focused on the Caribbean; we're focused on Africa as well. It's even worse for them. One of our portfolio companies called Agriplexy is a startup, agriculture/fintech startup in West Africa, and they support about 300,000 farmers.
Whoa.
And these are farmers that cannot open up a bank account at a local bank, because the local banks don't support small farmers. So they're able to open up a crypto wallet, a crypto account, manage their harvest in their crypto wallet, and actually sell their products in Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it's just really amazing to see that happening. So
that is crazy cool.
Yeah.
They're just leapfrogged the banking.
They just cut it out. We just cut it out totally. It's like, if you don't want to work with us, fine. We're just going to do this Bitcoin thing. So there's an exchange in Nigeria there's a centralized exchange in Nigeria where they're able to cash out. So it's working for them. And it's the female farmers that really adopted it first. Good. Adopted the earliest and the most. So, and it's a lot safer. The Naira is very inflated, and you're carrying around wads of cash, from selling your harvest is not safe.
Nope.
The farmers get robbed, raped, whatever.
Totally.
But if it's all on your mobile phone, then no one knows. you have money or not. So it's a big movement. I feel like the emerging markets are adopting Bitcoin and cryptocurrency a lot faster than we are here in the U.S. And even in rural areas. My family is from Kentucky. My dad's from a rural area in Kentucky, and I met a lady there, a grandma, and just happened to be in the library, and she asked me, how do I get into this Litecoin? How do I buy Litecoin? Because she saw her son do it, and so she wants to do it. She wants to do it for her grandkids. She watched YouTube videos, and so she's ready to go. We are a real global world right now. So information is really easy to get to. So
you got to teach us about more examples like the female farmers in Nigeria that are actually able to sell their crop and just leapfrog the banking industry completely. It's just so interesting to see the couple of decades of technology that the banks have tried to build up to make it so that you would have to bank with them just surpassed completely. That's so interesting. Yeah. So give us some more examples like that, because I think that's really cool.
So there is one example, but I can't share that with you. It's too radical.
Nothing's too radical for our show. Please, McKenzie.
Okay, so another portfolio company we have is based out of Canada and Colombia. And they came into our accelerator program, our ICO for Impact Accelerator program. And we were like, okay, they're working with farmers again. So we're like, okay, fine. Farmers got the most problems in the world. So that's fine. We can bring on another cohort. This one in particular is focused on the government gave this particular founder an area in Colombia and he's been tasked with converting coca farmers to cacao farmers. So he wants to use blockchain and cryptocurrency to do that. So what he's basically doing...
So from illegal to legal.
Right.
Yeah. Whoa.
And in the region that the government gave him, back up until 2009, their currency was not the Colombian peso. It was coca. It was cocaine.
Whoa.
So this is a community that's basically deeply enslaved by the cartel. Yeah. By the cartel. So, and the government works with the cartel to try to make them, give them a better livelihood and stuff. So this particular startup is called Choco for Peace, like chocolate, but Choco for Peace. So he's converting them, and again, it's mostly in the beginning, it's mostly female farmers that are signing up, and their farm now raises chocolate. It takes 3 years. To harvest chocolate. It takes 3 years to harvest chocolate, and they make more money. There's no one hanging over their head asking for all their money. They're able to take some home, feed their family. They're able to start a school, create a school, and build a little economy for themselves, and they weren't able to do that beforehand. And so the farming land is also geothermal, so they're able to mine while their crop is being raised. Mm-hmm. And so there's many different types of things that they can do with that land, not just use Bitcoin for harvesting, but they can also trade. They can trade and mine Bitcoin while they're waiting on their harvest. It's just like the coolest thing.
Just straight leapfrogging. I love it.
Yeah. The only thing that we're strongly recommending him not to do is an ICO, because we don't want certain people buying up his tokens and maybe pulling a power play and bringing those farmers back into cocoa farmers. Oh. So we don't, so we're funding him in other ways. And so that's kind of how the project that we're doing Beyond Capital Markets came about, with creating our own crypto impact fund. So instead of him doing an ICO, which we have barred him to do, we don't want the cartel to buy into his ICO, just to be blunt. We don't want that.
Exactly, yeah.
So we are like, okay, we'll create a fund for you, and we'll help invest. And so that kind of spearheaded what we're doing now in creating this financial infrastructure to support investing in impact startups. So we're raising a $200 million fund that is a crypto impact fund. And we're not going to be just investing in blockchain for impact projects. We're going to be training and investing in the new a new wave or a new generation of fund managers that will be crypto fund managers. And our hope is that they will have a focus on impact projects. So that's one part of what we're doing. And that saves Choco for Peace. They can now create their own fund because they want to create a fund or doing other things too. But now they can become a fund manager under us, and we give them the guidance and the tools and the support to do that. So we've limited his risk of working with other people for financial resources. So
then the crypto fund, the $200 million crypto fund, is also what is not only funding the social impact companies around the world, but also it is then able to help train them through this program called Beyond Academy.
Correct. So we have an academy. We've kind of retired our accelerator programs. We did that for 4 years. We were very grateful for the experience, but we feel like there's a higher calling now. So we're helping people in the impact space, or people in general who want to learn about crypto investing. So I've been doing these boot camps since January, and I've been training all types of people. And then we're also going to be, we have a program coming up that you can be anyone. You could work at Red Lobster or Walmart. You don't have to have an MBA from Harvard Business School to become a fund manager, right? So if you want to become a stockbroker on Wall Street, all you had to do was show up, back in the 80s and 90s. So we're taking that same concept. We're providing them with the training. They go through our program. They pass certification and training. Then we seed their fund. We'll give them, I don't know what their number is. I'm just going to throw out a number of 5 to 10 million to seed their fund, and we'll be their mentors and we'll guide them, and we'll help them. We'll bring to them deal flow and research so they can make the really good investment decisions. So I think that's what's missing in the social impact space, is that there aren't enough people that look like us. Maybe it's millennials or people who think and believe like us that are on the finance side. So some of us don't need to be technologists. All of us don't need to be on the technology side. Some of us can be on the finance side, or a combination of both, like I am. So that's really what our goal is with that, with Beyond Academy and the Beyond Funds. So
that's part of the reason why I'm in the interlocutor space.
Okay.
Because it's very unsaturated.
Yeah.
And we need people that are both empathic and polymathic that can sit here and talk to people about whatever they're building and the impact that it's having on the world, and be relatable and be fun and engaging and inspire other people through it. And so when we have everybody that is in the millennial and the Gen Z age that is going into tech, we need a couple people going into science and into finance and into economics, design, exactly, all these different types of fields. That way we can actually come to realize all of our potential together as a team on the planet. So and that kind of seems like exactly what you've done. You took what is a combination of the training set with Beyond Academy, and you've put it with people that have a vision about a part of the world that we don't really have.
Right.
And so we don't know what goes on in cocoa to cacao, right? We don't really know that.
Right.
And we don't really know what goes on with farmers that can't sell their goods in Nigeria either. We just don't know these things that well, but they know. They know damn well.
Yeah.
And so if we can empower them with the right tools and the right education, especially about the future of cryptocurrency and blockchain, then they can, in a couple of months, pick things up and get rolling with them, testing them, feeling them out, getting better at them, investing into their area of the world, with this helping alleviate poverty in those areas of the world. I'm loving it.
Yeah,
I'm
and
all
then
about it.
tracking their data, tracking their impact data. I think blockchain has created this enormous opportunity where we can actually see, so social impact is no longer a soundbite, it's measurable, and we can see exactly the impact and how much impact is being created through these social impact startups and projects. So That really hasn't been done before. There's been ratings, but real-time data, they cannot be manipulated because it's on the chain. That's going to help social impact projects all over the world excel even faster, because now it's like, okay, I've shown my worth, give me my money. Give me my money, I want the funding, so they can show and prove themselves in a stronger way. And then VCs, they can't say no to that. If they do, then there's something wrong with them, but it's going to be hard for them to say no to that. So
there's more here. So you also have the crypto exchange as well, and then the blockchain protocol. Can you unpack these for us as well?
Sure. So let's do the blockchain protocol.
And you have
first.
a team of like 1,000 people working on all these things,
I
right?
wish. At the core, it's just me and Telly. At the core,
Crazy.
we're doing everything and managing personal lives at the same time, traveling around the world. It's pretty crazy. We do have a small team of support staff, so we're kind of coming out of bootstrap. It was really important for us to bootstrap in the beginning, so there wouldn't be an investor over our heads controlling us and kind of limiting our growth, so we could kind of grow organically. So now that we know what we're doing, now we're able to take in investment money, investment capital, and really growth capital at this point. So the protocol supports the fund managers that are coming through our program. So as they're working through the program, they will use the Beyond protocol, our blockchain protocol, to help set up their back office for their impact fund. So right now, to create a fund right now, it's probably going to cost you like $1 million. Right now, you've got to get compliance. There's all these regulations and back office requirements, and it's very expensive, and it's heavily relied on human capital, which you got to pay people, right? If you put all that on the blockchain and use technology, then it cuts your costs down to like maybe tens of thousands of dollars, or maybe even under $10,000 to start a fund, which is really radical.
Why does it cost $1 million to $10,000, and how does your protocol enable that?
So you have to get a custodian. So when you're managing a fund,
does that mean like with the SEC, like a custodian, like to clean
like a bank custodian?
A bank custodian.
So bank custodians.
What does that mean?
Those are people that hold the money. Just a bank that holds the money in the fund. So if you heard like a venture capital fund,
$1 million?
Well, that's just one part of it. So you have to have a bank custodian. Okay, so typically to get a traditional bank custodian, if you went to JP Morgan, if you went to, I don't even have a bank account in the US anymore, so I don't know these bank names. But
how do we get set up with an overseas account?
I know, right? I know. That's coming. But typically they want you to have a retainer, and it's expensive, right? So you're paying them.
They want a retainer?
They want a retainer. It's expensive. It's expensive to sign up for their services, right? Their bank custodial services. So that's number one, it's expensive. Number two, your compliance officer that you're going to bring on, they want $200,000 annual salary, maybe, depending on the level.
What are they doing? And what is a custodian doing to earn retainers and these salaries? Like, what are people doing?
They're holding the money.
They're holding the money? Just for holding the money in these accounts
security.
overseas?
No, not overseas, here.
Here.
We're talking about traditional. So traditional. If you were a fund, you would go to a bank, a major bank.
JP Morgan.
Yeah, say JP Morgan, and you would say, someone has to hold your money. When you raise a fund, create a fund, you can't have that money in your regular business account.
It won't work? It's
Why?
Not
There's
safe. A limit?
Well, there's a level of security that's not there. So you have to do professional services, professional bank services that have that extra level of security.
What happens on the business account side? What's the security?
It's secure, but in terms of regulations and stuff, it's not it's kind of required for you to put that money in a custodian.
Custodians, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so over $1 million needs a custodian, or?
No, I'm just saying to create a fund, to start a fund. Yeah, the operational back end, it can be $1 million.
But usually that's a $10 million fund that you would get a custodian for.
All funds.
Yeah, but what's a minimum, I guess, threshold for?
To raise a fund?
To put it into like a JP Morgan.
I don't really know. Every bank is different.
Okay.
Every bank's fees are different.
So interesting.
But that's why it's really hard. But that hurts us, right? Because if you've got
it's a big fee,
right? Yeah. But if you've got a seed stage capital fund that maybe raised $30 million, and they've got to cut $1 million check just to different service providers supporting their fund.
Correct.
And a fund manager only takes 2%. So 2% of $30 million is not that much money. So it's very hard. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make the fund efficient, and because they're not operating efficiently, then they're not able to really help the startups and the portfolio companies that they're working with. So the first thing with the protocol, first thing to do is to reduce all those back end fees from, say, like $1 million to like $10,000, for example. So that's the number one thing. So that way the fund manager can breathe a little bit, and they can and not only does it reduce costs, it reduces the time it takes to file paperwork and to make sure you're compliant with the SEC and FINRA, and all that is pretty much automated on the blockchain. So and you're using smart contracts with that, so it's just a lot easier. Everything is properly documented. You only have to document it once. You don't have to put it in a form. You don't have to create a Word doc and then transfer that Word doc to the SEC form, or it's just one seamless process, and that's not happening right now. And so
that's a very useful protocol. Okay.
Yeah. So there's other protocols out there like that, but ours is focused on impact. Yeah. So that's the first part of the protocol. The second part of the protocol is that it focuses on measuring the data for the portfolio companies. So there's a part in there I forgot. It onboards the investors as well. So in a fund, you have LPs. Those are your high net worth, your family offices, even your pension funds, your insurance companies. They invest in venture capital and private equity funds, even hedge funds. So you can onboard them easier. And it cuts down the time it takes to transfer their investment into the fund using blockchain technology.
So an LP can join a fund faster.
Right.
And with less paperwork, just more effectively.
Right, it's just more effective. And then they get the ultimate transparency, right? So they get to see what's going on in the fund, right? Because everything is accessible, right? All the data is accessible. So there's less fraud, there's less scamming going on with hedge funds or private equity funds, and LPs don't lose their money. They can see what's going on in real time. So that's very important. That's not happening right now. That's how you get Bernie Madoff. So no Bernie Madoffs. We're not creating any more Bernie Madoffs. You can see what's going on
in real time with the money, with the transparency of the blockchain.
Right.
Interesting. So previously you couldn't. You
previously,
would have to get an update from the manager.
How Bernie Madoff did is he was very well connected in New York and around the world, and it was all based on relationships. He had nothing to show but false statements. Yeah. That cannot happen on blockchain, right? Yeah. You can't create two set of statements, one for the SEC and one for the investor, which is what Bernie was doing. All that goes away. Yeah. Right. So there's trust, builds trust back into the financial system. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, I love that, trust and financial system, things you don't usually hear together.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah. So that's a really big thing.
So you're building the protocol with just two. How many people are building that out?
Well, we're going to create a team for that, so I'm not building that by myself. And it's not a blockchain protocol from scratch, and more likely it'll be a cross chain of a couple of Stellar and a couple of other ones that we really like.
And then what about the crypto exchange? Did we touch on that?
No. So the exchange. So after the fund managers have created their funds, they can tokenize it and they can trade it on the exchange. And that's the trend that's happening right now.
Okay, so this would be like if the woman farmer in Nigeria was to then become part of the Beyond Academy and then get trained to manage a crypto fund, and then was to invest into companies in Nigeria, and then those companies would be managed on the crypto exchange. their
Right.
tokens
So,
would be
yeah,
managed on
those
the exchange.
companies can actually list on the exchange, but the Female Farmers Fund can actually be tokenized and listed on the exchange as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I see kind of how it all
Goes together.
now the ecosystem makes
Yeah.
sense. When you first listed off all these things and I was writing them down, I was like, how does a human being do all of this stuff? And then now that we've went through it and we broke it down and I see the
Right.
different pieces and it makes a little more sense, now I'm like, okay, well, there's a lot of interplay going on.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a process, right? So it's not like one over here, one product over here, one product over there. It all tells one story. So it's very cohesive.
So we talked a lot about social justice and about blockchain. That was fantastic. Two of the central pieces to why we're here today.
Right. Yeah.
And I love what you're doing. I want to push some marbles, a little bit of time marbles your way. I got some people that I want to make some connections to.
That'd be great.
And see
That'd be
some
great.
things come to fruition there. Now, we want to ask you a couple questions that we usually ask on the show, quick ones. The first question is, what do you think about the exacerbation of wealth inequality due to exponential technology?
Okay. So you're talking about the wealth accumulation within technology, right? The tech space.
Wealth accumulation specifically being exacerbated by exponential technology, and then also how the bottom is much slower at increasing its wealth than the top is exploding upward. So what do you think's going on there?
Yeah, it's kind of going back like the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer.
And it's like the rich are getting richer, and the poor are getting richer, like barely. You know?
Barely, yeah. Well, to me, that's poor. Yeah, I mean, it's a problem. So, back in November, December of last year, there was a big sell-off of Bitcoin around the world. And now you have these crypto billionaires because they sold their Bitcoin that they bought for 5 cents back in 2011, 2009, 2011, wherever, And so you have that part coming in. I can talk all day about this. I've observed some things that are really creepy.
Can you tell us all about the things that you've observed that are really creepy, please?
I think that because of the wealth accumulation, new wealth accumulation within crypto, I'm just going to talk about that part. Which
is a lot already.
Right, it's a lot. But what we've seen is a resurgence of colonialism, which is really, really scary. And there's some expats.
How so is the colonialism and expats go through?
I'll give you an example. Puerto Rico, for example. So you had the hurricane, and their infrastructure is just really dismal. And so you had a lot of crypto people moving to Puerto Rico, and they weren't really about helping. They were about tax savings. Well, they were about tax savings, and then now they're buying a lot of land. And how can you go in and buy the Children's Museum? That was a children's museum. It's no longer, they don't even have a children's museum anymore in Puerto Rico. So it's like, well, wait a minute. You first have to give back. Yes, the Caribbean is known for luxurious, living for the wealthy and stuff like that. You can hide your money there, pay less taxes or whatever. But you got to give back to the people at some point. So that mindset wasn't there in Puerto Rico when the whole big Puerto Rico movement happened earlier this year. That wasn't even thought about. So you still have these Puerto Ricans that don't have water and electricity, and they're dying. They're still dying because they don't have basic necessities, and this is still happening. And meanwhile, you have all these rich people coming in, rich crypto people coming in, and creating their own ecosystem on top of these people dying and hurting from the hurricane. And so that makes us look bad as in the blockchain crypto community. That makes us look really, really, really bad. And so we got to be sensitive and mindful of that. Of course, you want to go somewhere else. Taxes here are outrageous. The fact that you have to pay taxes on a commodity, it doesn't even make sense. We know that the SEC and the CFTC, we know they don't know what they're doing. And you can come to the Caribbean, Austria, Switzerland, Ireland, wherever, but just be mindful of the local people that are there, because they historically have been hurting for a long time, right? Even before America came here, or before America was created that we know of, they've been hurting for a long time. So that insensitivity has really pissed off a lot of people in the ecosystem, and it has really embarrassed us it's been an embarrassment. So
wow, what a first example.
yeah.
All right, give us the other
But
stuff.
the other part I see on it, just like the example with the farmers in West Africa, what I'm seeing right now, I guess because I live in America and live in the Caribbean as well and travel around the world, is I'm seeing that the emerging markets in the developed countries, mainly America, we're kind of starting to switch places. And if we don't pay attention to human issues in America, we're going to end up like Nigeria and India. We're going to be the emerging market if we don't pay attention and if we don't bring in that human aspect to politics and finance and stuff. So we're going to lose it. So, we're like the Romans right now. So it's, if we fall, we're going to fall hard. So you have all these people trying not to make that happen. But at the same time, you have a lot of tone deaf, wealthy people who are just don't, it's not that they don't care, it's just not in their space. They don't have to deal with it on a day-to-day basis. So they don't know about it, right? So I don't know how you can reach those people because they're completely isolated.
So you think that potentially the technologies that are being built that are going into the hands of the developing world could leapfrog them so much to where how we educate people here is not going to keep up to how they've grabbed onto the technology and ran.
No, because think
That's
about it.
interesting,
If your country's been poor,
oh
I've
yeah,
had
you want to
poverty
get
for
out of poor
hundreds
as
of
soon
years,
as possible. Yeah.
hundreds of years.
And if you've been living with a Walmart and a delivery store and whatever, you're just chilling on Netflix.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
that's a pretty good way to put it.
And it's funny because my business partner, she just flew in from the Caribbean on Thursday. And I'm from Los Angeles, so I showed her around Los Angeles a little bit. And she's like, this is her saying, she's like, why the ass y'all coming down to our islands and our lands, emerging markets, and you can't even take care of your own homeless people in your backyard? And I'm like, you know what? You have a really good point. Why are all these social impact people running off to Africa to help the poor people there? We have extremely poor people here in the U.S.
Yeah, we do.
And we're not helping them. We're just turning a blind eye.
And we're building technology that's extincting their jobs.
Right, so we're creating more homeless people here, and the technology that we're building, we want to push it off to the other developing countries. They get it first before we give it to our own people here in like rural America or in the South or anywhere.
This is serious, McKenzie.
That's a problem.
Yeah. Wow.
That's a problem.
That's some real serious shit. That second point was really crazy. Interesting.
So if you look at the whole holistic, story holistically, it's really scary. It's really, really scary. So.
It seems as though as we globalize, we also need to be very aware of our community.
Yes.
At the same time. So we literally live on a street that has techies that walk next to homeless people. Yeah. So it's kind of really strange.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a very interesting. Do you have another point on that topic? I wouldn't be surprised.
I do. It's pretty radical.
Give us another, please. We love the radical stuff.
The technology that's being created by the upper echelon or the 1% or whatever you want to call them of tech and wealth, I think they're coding with colonialism in mind, with colonization in mind, digital colonization in mind. I don't think it's working. But I think that they are doing that with that in mind, whether they're doing it on purpose or not. You have a lot of people who think that colonization or colonialism is a way of life that works. You have a lot of people that are just doesn't mean that they're evil or anything like that. They just see it as a system or an institution that has been working. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Doesn't mean they're horrible people. It's just an institution. They've been institutionalized that way.
What do you think then is the mindset of the 1% that are coding for the future? What do you think their mindset?
I think that is their mindset.
Is the mindset to retain the 1% as continuation of
I think they're coding with that in mind. Okay, let me keep what's mine.
They're coding for a bifurcation of socioeconomic status.
Yeah, they want to keep it the way that it is.
I'm not gonna. This is the first time that I'm saying it on the show.
Yeah.
But it's been something I've been thinking about a lot as well.
Yeah.
Because I have been thinking about it a tremendous amount. I haven't made a public opinion about it, but I do think that it's a possibility.
Yeah.
The fact that it's a possibility should be vocalized, because not everybody is a benevolent and benign human.
Some people are just pure capitalists and greedy and don't care. And there's a lot of people in that 1% tech wealth world that are just like that. You know, they're like that. They're just about the money. But we can't keep doing that, or we're going to really be. We're going to cross that point of no return as a country here in America. So
the feminine energy is actually really important to make sure that like the Pachamama Gaia, this whole vibe as a planet, can like stick tight and stick towards.
Yeah, it's our saving grace, and so we're going to be okay. But I'm talking about America specifically may have some adjustments, and if we don't make those adjustments, we will all suffer.
Take this into account as we come to an end. Is playing off your last point. Think about who is at the forefront of the best robotics, and who is at the forefront of the best artificial intelligence systems and the best weaponry.
Right.
And those things mixed together.
But that's what's happening.
The poor and the middle class stand no chance against that, because it's not even human anymore. Now it's robot, AI, guns.
Well, what was the one that, what was it, Alexis? Well, they did some testing on Alexis. I think it was Alexis. They did some testing and they ended up being like really racist on Twitter.
That was Microsoft's.
Oh, it was a Microsoft
chatbot.
Chatbot, but it was racist.
That's because out of all the comments, the machine learning algorithms picked up hate speech.
Right,
it's a joke. It picks up hate speech.
Right, but where were they learning from?
From humans, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So if you unleash an AI that just learns, it's going to learn shit as well as much. How many nice comments are there on YouTube? How many nice comments are there on Twitter?